More than 6 hours later, crews finally have things cleaned up down here.
We talked with the owner of Eubank off camera, who Pollock says wasn't returning her calls until we started asking questions.
It has been amazing to see the kind of support that's been out here all day. The hugging, the crying. People are very emotional as businesses opened back up today for the first time since the fires.
And we had one major question for the commissioner. Could he wait that long for a paycheck? We've been hearing about this report since day one, and finally, here we are, more than 100 days in since Dr. Joseph took over as director of schools. The reality is, in just a matter of minutes, security experts say a burglar can be in and out of your home. When your alarm goes off, you may think officers are immediately on their way. But we found in thousands of cases that's not what's happened. And even Metro Police isn't happy about it.
It's one of the most frightening sounds. Immediately, you think, this is what's happening. But you've got an alarm.
Hello, 911.
So the alarm company quickly contacts police.
Alarm, bedroom.
They'll be there any moment. After all, security experts say it can take a thief only 3 minutes to be in and out.
They're going to take anything that they can get, street value money for, and they're going to be gone.
In fact, a Channel 4 I-Team investigation found in a year's time from last summer to this summer, and in more than 140 cases, it took Metro Police more than an hour to respond to a house alarm.
I didn't realize it could take this long.
We showed the numbers to Katie BUNTIN, who doesn't have an alarm system. Her home was burglarized last month. And that time, police arrived within 5 minutes of her calling them after work when she got home and realized her door had been kicked in. She's now considering getting an alarm system, but she says these numbers are disturbing.
4 hours and 28 minutes, 3 hours and 39 minutes.
And there's more. While there is no national average of how quickly police should respond to a home alarm, we asked security expert Alan Young. His answer, 15 to 20 minutes. So look at this. Between June of 2015 and June of 2016, it took officers longer than 30 minutes to respond to more than 3,000 residential burglary alarm calls.
Does that response time surprise you?
It really doesn't. We've been telling people for years that the average response time is greater than 20 minutes.
Documents show in thousands of other cases, police responded in less than 20 minutes. And the average response time so far in 2016, 26 minutes.
Does it say if it's commercial or residential?
Young says what we found is less of a criticism on police and more of revealing the reality of a growing city. Take a listen to this. My burglar alarm went off a few weeks ago while I was out of town, and I requested a copy of the communication between my alarm company and the Emergency Communications Center where the 911 calls are taken. When no officer showed up 40 minutes later, ADT called back.
Yes, ma'am. How can I? Okay, I'm calling to see if there's an update for our previous burglar alarm we had called in on, please, sir.
Yeah, we do have the call. We haven't been able to get it dispatched just yet. It's been a little busy this afternoon, but we'll get someone out there as soon as we can.
So they were dispatched, so they are not there as of yet?
No, we haven't dispatched it just yet. It's still sitting in the pending at the moment, but we'll get someone out there as soon as we can.
We wanted to ask Metro Police about this call and all the other response times that took longer than 20 minutes.
Sometimes, and it's unpredictable, there are more calls than officers available.
Chris Mumford with Metro Police says the department can't keep up with how fast the city's growing. She'd like to see more officers on the street and says more boots on the ground would make a difference in response times.
As Nashville grows, there's increased traffic. It may affect officers. It's just like it affects you and me. It also may affect officers in getting to those calls.
But would you say that the department is satisfied with some of those times?
We're not satisfied if you've got to wait, but we hope they understand that sometimes we have to prioritize these calls and go to those life-threatening situations, those Code 3 calls.
Mumford says there's a priority system that determines when police respond to calls and in what order. For example, if you want police to do a welfare check on an elderly neighbor, that's a Code 1. If your home alarm goes off and no one's home, that's a step up, Code 2. And if your alarm is going off and someone is home at the time and in immediate danger, that's the highest, code 3. Bottom line, if you're out on vacation and your home alarm goes off, it's still considered urgent by police, but it's not the highest priority. And there's nothing your local alarm company can do about it.
We go straight to their dispatchers and we tell them what we have, and then they dispatch based on whatever's going on in the city at the time.
BUNTIN just hopes, should she become a target for thieves again, an alarm system would make a difference, even if police take an hour to show up.
I hope that they would leave the house faster if they heard an alarm go off, and that they would have the fear that the police are coming, even if it did take the police a long time.
From the moment we arrived in downtown, I noticed people smiling and laughing with one another, something that hasn't happened here since before the fires. It also tugged on my heartstrings to see people walking into these shops and buying things just to support the community. I talked with one couple who spent $500 just in one store alone. I also remember interviewing a woman who started crying right in the middle of our interview because it was so hard to talk about the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I get emotional. You know, I'm sorry. I just feel bad, so I get very upset when I talk about it.
And then there was this conversation I had with one of the business owners. What was that like to hear someone say, we just want to buy something to support you?
It's humbling, because you think that you just don't know that many people care about this little bitty town in the mountains of 4,000 people.
On Eagle Trace Drive in Mount Juliet, one pole looks different than the rest.
It draws attention.
Scott Moore is talking about the telephone pole right in front of his house. Look closely, and you can see it leans several feet to the right.
12 years ago, it wasn't as crooked as it is today, I know that. It's gotten obvious more and more as time's gone on.
And as time has gone on, he says the wires keep getting looser.
You can see the transformer move when you pull it.
And the cracks on the pole keep getting bigger. Every time it storms or there's strong wind, Moore says he worries about this pole falling right on top of his house.
When it's windy, you can stand on the porch or be in the bonus room and look out, and you can see, that there's some sway to it.
He's called NES repeatedly over the years, but says they've told him it's not their responsibility. And when he's called his media service provider, TDS Telecom, he says he's gotten nowhere.
It's just a matter of whoever owns the pole, take it and make it safe.
So that's when he called the Channel 4i team.
I just want a new pole or just one that I feel safe with.
So who does own the pole? Is it NES or TDS Telecom? Several phone calls and emails later, I found out it is in fact owned by TDS Telecom. In fact, they decided it was unsafe months ago, and back in August wrote a check to NES for $2,400 to fix it. The check was cashed, but the work was never done. Something TDS's sales manager, Robert Kuntz, says he knew nothing about until we called.
Actually, I thought the work was already completed. I think in November is whenever we paid for the services.
Kuntz says when it comes to fixing or replacing poles, NES has to do it for safety reasons.
Because we have to have them change this pole out. A lot of power, a lot of attachments. It's a huge project undertaking to change a pole out with that much attachments on it.
NES declined our request for an on-camera interview, but says they first notified TDS of the pole in 2014, and TDS said it didn't need to be replaced. When they were told again last month, they determined it did need to be replaced. And days after we started asking questions, Moore came home to this on his door.
It was a business card from NES and just said, working on getting this pole replaced. If any questions, please call me on the number on the front.
And then today, workers showed up and replaced the pole. Moore just wishes it didn't take so long and says he's just glad he and his family won't have to worry anymore.
I've just been so impressed with how Channel 4 acted so quickly, got results, and made it all happen in just a short week. I feel real excited knowing it's going to be a safer pole and one that's going to be not fall down or anything.
While the new pole is up, NES says it is TDS Telecom's responsibility to now transfer the cables and remove the old pole from the homeowner's yard. You can make sure we'll stay on top of this to make sure that happens.